All right, my bad. I missed the last couple bars, but on the 1 hour. But let's just get straight to this 4 hour since we just had a 4 hour close. Interestingly enough, before we even get into that, this is kind of the short that we called yesterday. A short underneath this bar, and the rationale for that short was looking at this huge outside up bar. Um, if we consider it as a 1 bar trading range, then even though we had a strong bullish close on the outside up bar, and even though we also had it, even though the subsequent bar was a small inside bull bar up here only, above the wick only, above the close. So typically that feels pretty bullish, but when you're at the top of a trading range, you don't want to be buying above or at the top, at the high of the trading range. And if this really is the entirety of the trading range, then theoretically your risk is so strong uh, for such a little payoff. I mean, actually, you don't even get from here. You get from up here. This is where you have to enter. So, nevertheless, this doesn't trigger the long, any sort of long above this inside bar doesn't trigger. But yeah, taking the short underneath this bar, so as to minimize the risk. Small bar near the top of a trading range is a good fade. Um, this with a stop right on the other side of it is a good fade. Like I said yesterday, I don't have too much experience with this particular trade. I prefer trading in trends as opposed to trading in trading ranges, or not necessarily prefer, but I'm a little bit better at that. So this is not a trade that I'm particularly familiar with, so I left it. I decided not to take it, but it would have worked out quite nicely actually. Starting to build its own trend line. We kind of have this trend line as well here, but certainly this bar broke a trend line, even if that trend line is just like from here to here kind of thing, right? But there is some sort of strength here, such that if we put it on like maybe a much smaller time frame, we should be able to create some sort of trend line here that gets broken. I mean, this trend line gets broken by this move, and then, this trend line gets broken strongly by that move. So we definitely have two legs, one leg separation here, and then this is the second leg down. But because all of this is still within this trend line, this could ultimately become one leg itself that has kind of a spike down here and then an accelerating trend to hit that. But it's also currently a bit of a spike in channel because have a very clear spike, and we've just been channeling downward ever since we came back, retested the origin of that spike. So once we break out of this channel, there should theoretically be, based on spike and channel theory, there should be a pop to kind of this area where we may retest. That may also coincide with the end of this first leg, that this one leg made up by two legs. We might have kind of this, and then a second leg down following this like double top bear flag. But this was the first, after a lot of strength, a lot of bearish strength, we had a bullish kind of small reversal bar. Not a very good reversal bar, especially because this bar was so strong. And this is in fact an outside down bar. And as we were looking at it this morning, it was looking like it was going to be a green bar, and then I think it kind of closes towards the end of it. I guess not. It doesn't make much sense either because I definitely wasn't awake at that time. I think I'm thinking of this side. Yeah, I'm thinking of this outside bar. This bar was looking like an outside up bar, and then it ends up closing at the bottom, at its low, and ends up being an outside down bar. But back to the 4 hour. This is a really strong outside down bar. So not really expecting, like, even if we break above this, I would probably be expecting like maybe a little pop here and then more down, because this bar is just quite strong. But if we look at it on a lower time frame, it's possible that it might look kind of like one leg down and then comes up here and then second leg down, and then we have maybe a little pop up here and then a retest, doesn't break the low, and then we start moving up. Or we could also be having something like 1, 2, 3 pushes down, and then once we're at the bottom of this trading range, then we can pick up a long. The daily chart is kind of looking gross, but it's not so bad because, I mean, I think we're pretty confirmed to be in this trading range now, right? So it's not too horrible for this to be an inside bar, because we can still expect possibly at least some sort of support down in this region. So we don't necessarily just have to break right through to the downside. But yeah, this is not, I mean, certainly if you're a bull, this is not the candle that you wanted to see, right? Let's go down to the 1 hour. So on the 1 hour, we're kind of just building this trend line, probably looking for shorts along this trend line. I think our entry was underneath here that we were talking about on that 4 hour. And so kind of had an opportunity to enter on this pullback. It kind of looked like a trading range here, so maybe you felt weird entering on this bar, but certainly when this bar comes through, it's pretty strong, right? Unfortunately, now once you get to this bar, you kind of near this level, which we have some respect for, obviously, and so maybe you feel uncomfortable shorting down here, wanting to wait for a pullback. This is your pullback. This pullback feels strong. Maybe you are nervous that this is one push down, two legs down, and now we're going to reverse. But this is, pretty clearly not really two legs down, right? Little channel action here. Can expand it a little bit. And this channel has still been respected this entire time. Nothing but respect for the channel. So, excuse me. This is looking like a nice little move by bulls to try and do a little something, something. But the outside down bar on the higher time frame is pretty strong. And there's a long time to go on this candle, so we'll see how that one plays out. But as far as hourly goes, I would consider this area to be the end of the first leg. I think this was reasonably strong enough that even though it doesn't breach the trend line, within this move right now, it's going to constitute the end of the first leg. And so we're probably looking at something like this region for the end of the move. If you don't use this as the first, as the end of the first leg, maybe you'll use this as the end of the first leg. If we get a little bit of a higher push that clearly breaks across this trend line. But once this trend line gets breached, I'm expecting a much stronger move to follow, because that would be, we're ending the move here, not in the middle of this here. But if we're looking for the idea of maybe we have two legs down here, I would probably say this is the end of the first leg. We have 1, 2, 3 pushes. Rejection here. Maybe this is kind of the little spike that confirms the end of the first leg, and this trend line, of course, is broken, right? And then we start a second leg down, and this leg might constitute two legs, so maybe we have kind of thing, and it ends at this 60.3 level. Was it something like that? And then we have a reversal. That would make some sense as well within this channel, as that would probably be our third push down, right? We would consider this to be the first push, second push, first push with a separation, with a reasonable separation breaking trend line. I guess if you're going to say this one works, and this kind of technically works as well. But this just doesn't feel like a strong push like that, climactic push. This feels more like a climactic push here. And so maybe looking for a third climactic push before we find a reversal. So that would be what we're looking for in the bullish case, and in the bearish case, probably just looking to continue to add to shorts on pullbacks because this is looking nice, right? Or at the very least, hoping to get back to this area. Not out of the question, of course, especially if we continue accelerating this trend. So that's kind of what we're going to be watching for. Bulls are going to have stops underneath here for sure now. And yeah, if bears can clear this, they can have another run, especially because this trend line is not broken. This isn't really a trend line, right? But once this one got broken, we had an even stronger pump to the next level. So I don't think we're quite done necessarily here. Probably looking for a pull back to this level, two-legged pull back to this level, and then we take a shot at this